What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Odin coming back with another video, and today we've got the box office breakdown for this past weekend, which saw the new release of The Lost City, film run by Sandra Bullock, and oh boy, did Deadline want to remind everyone that Sandra Bullock was the star and that it was a female-led film. As we all know, the box office media love to try and put labels on all of it, trying to create records out of thin air, which really have no actual bearing and no real sense of importance to them whatsoever. But we're going to talk about what the actual numbers are saying, what the budget of this film is, and how much money this film really needs to make in order for it to be able to break even. We'll also give updates on The Batman, which continues to have a very strong hold from week to week, and also major milestone passed by Spider-Man No Way Home, which was recently released on digital and is going to be available on physical media over the next couple of weeks. Very sad that the 4K Steelbook of that went on sale a lot earlier than I expected and is no longer available, so it is what it is. But before going any further, though, into this, please make sure that you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching us over on Odyssey, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so that way you get notifications every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel, especially by clicking on that bell notification. And so, as you can see, the newest film, The Lost City from Paramount, made $31 million, coming out at over 4,000 screens. This film cost around $74 million or so, meaning that it still has a little ways in order to make its money back. And with the film set to come out, like Morbius, set to come out this coming weekend, or rather this next weekend on April 1st, it would be interesting to see if, as a joke, they decide to push the film back once again. That's just kind of been the the general thought that I've actually had about the movie. A little bit too close for that to happen potentially, but hey, it is April 1st. It is April Fool's Day on Friday, so anything can happen, right? The Batman came in at the number 2 spot, making another $20.5 million, a 44% hold, 44% drop from last week, pushing it to over $331 million domestically. You also had this newer film, RRR, Rise, Roar, Revolt, which I honestly don't know that much about, so I really can't speak to it all that much. It says here it's an international release in the United Kingdom as far as a limited release is concerned, and that it is a Bollywood film. And so Bollywood is not really my forte. Hard to say exactly how well or not well a film is doing if it fits into the Bollywood category, so I will have to hold off judgment on that. We also had coming in number 4, Uncharted, with a 36% drop, as both that and The Batman begin to lose out on some screens, both of them at well over 3,000 screens. Uncharted made another $5 million, pushing it to $133.5 million in its domestic run after 6 weeks of release, so still doing quite well. Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which many people have said that I should try and watch. This is available to watch online with online streaming, so I might give it a go if I have time to actually do so. I'm preparing for the Wednesday Raven Awards, by the way. Wednesday Raven Awards tonight on OMB Reviews on YouTube, DLive, Odyssey. I stream pretty much everywhere, 7 to 9 p.m. So if you want to boycott the Oscars and see which films won based on the votes of many of you and many in the Asgardian community, check that out. It should be a lot of fun playing around with some video clips adding on this year. So I'm excited for it. Hope you're excited for it as well. But anyway, with that being said, as that is taking up a lot of my time, I have not had a lot of time extra to be able to watch this or a lot of the other films that are nominated at the Oscars. Not that the Oscars matter anymore. And actually, I'll add a little extra end note about the Oscars so-called halo effect, and how it hasn't worked this year, or really it's been losing its effect for a long time, which is no surprise for us. But anyway, that was a top 5, and then top 6 we had X still in its second week of release, making another $2.2 million. So even though 48% drop is not terrible and added on some theaters, it's still not performing nearly as strong as it might need to. We don't have a budget yet, so who knows? A24 tends to put out lower budget films, so maybe it'll be okay. Dog comes in at number 7, another $2.1 million. So again, still doing pretty well, and because of a much more reasonable lower budget, it was able to make its money back. Spider-Man No Way Home still hanging out in the top 10, even after being out here for 15 weeks, which is insane. Still at over 2,000 screens, only dropped 36% for another $2 million, pushing it to a pretty massive number there, $800 million domestically. which puts this as one of the highest grossing, or rather the highest domestic totals of any MCU film of all time, even when you adjust for inflation. So it is incredible for a film like this coming out during a pandemic. Remember, of course, that narrative, which has, magically disappeared. I wonder if Spider-Man No Way Home had something to do with that, as it motivated people to actually go outside and realize, oh, I'm safe. Things are okay. So $800.5 million is where that sits currently domestically, looking very good and very, very close to that $1.9 billion mark. Did not reach that this weekend. I said it was either going to be this or next weekend. So it looks like by next weekend, that film will reach another major milestone, making $1.9 billion, which obviously puts this as the highest grossing film of 2021, and also one of the highest grossing films in a pretty good while as well, doing a lot better, I think, than many of the so-called experts would have expected. Coming in at number 9 is Sing 2, which, again, also similar to Spider-Man No Way Home, it continues to hang around, a 12% drop, added on 788 theaters. That's kind of unheard of in a lot of ways. 14 weeks in, and they're already adding theaters for this film. So it goes to show you the families are going out to see this film enough for them to say, yeah, let's keep it out at over 2,500 screens. And you look at some of the higher films on this list in their second, third, fourth week of release, and how they're just dropping films like very, very quickly. And you look at some of the other films at the bottom of this list. I mean, it's pretty impressive what Sing 2 has been able to do in that. And then rounding out the top 10 is a new release, but it's a limited release. And so I don't have any full breakdowns on this one, but the movie Infinite Storm from Bleecker Street. Don't really know much about this. Naomi Watts, Billy Howell, so looks like there is maybe some potential there. But $751 million, that looks like a lot of CGI fest, so I imagine the budget probably a little bit higher than what one would expect for a Bleecker Street film. But hey, maybe they were smart with their money. Maybe they were able to do a Green Knight and actually do some CGI on a budget, because guess what, Hollywood, you can do that, and most of the time it actually looks a lot better. And then you also have some of the other films that have been out for a long time, not really ranking anywhere and really falling out. Death on the Nile dropping 750 screens means that one is essentially dead and not going anywhere. You did have the second weekend release, though, of The Outfit, which dropped 63%. No one really going to see it. I thought it actually looked kind of interesting, but those are indeed the numbers of that and so many others. So if we look at The Lost City, we're not getting any international reporting as of the recording of this video. I did look for it as much as I could, and I tried to go to Deadline and some of the other box office reporting websites, and none of them are reporting if this film is doing anything. I don't know if there was even a international release for this film. But what is interesting, of course, is the narrative that's being spun about this movie, which is The Lost City, as it says here, seeing record pandemic opening for female-driven comedy. So notice that it's not just a record-setting movie. It's a record-setting for the pandemic era. It's a record-setting opening for a female-driven comedy, not just of a comedy. So this is just, again, the lengths in which they will go to try and push their identity politics narratives. And again, I don't know whether or not this film is good or not. I have not seen the film myself. Let me know your own thoughts if you think it looks good. I personally just am not that interested in it. Sandra Bullock is always kind of hit or miss for me. You do have, of course, the likes of Daniel Radcliffe, who seems to be playing kind of a villainous character in this film. I believe that this is the film with Daniel Radcliffe again. Just shows that I don't really care. There we go. There's an image that we can look to. You also have Channing Tatum in the film as well. And so, again, the fact that they're focusing on, yes, it set a record, but specifically pandemic female-driven comedy. So not even female-driven film, just female-driven comedy with $31 million. This is going to drop off like a huge weight, though, once Morbius comes out. Not that I think Morbius is going to be any type of massive hit whatsoever, but there's no doubt that Morbius is going to be number one at the box office, just kind of the nature of the beast. It is a heavily promoted film. It is a Sony release that, is adjacent to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And those films are going to make money, regardless, or they're going to at least make a certain amount of money to be at the number one spot at the box office, domestically speaking. So we'll see if The Lost City is able to hold on to this, or just how much of a drop-off this movie could see. I could see this film dropping north of 60% or so. And even though the budget is sub $100 million, it still has a little ways to go. And if the international market's not going to help this film, and this doesn't really seem like a film for the international market, even with the likes of Brad Pitt also in a supporting role, then we will, of course, have to wait and see. And the other news story I wanted to talk about, of course, was Spider-Man No Way Home hitting $800 million domestically, being a huge milestone for this film. 101 days of release, Spider-Man will reach a rare domestic box office milestone of $800 million, becoming one of only 3 movies to do so in Hollywood's history. After 2015's Star Wars The Force Awakens, which, keep in mind, that was a film that was set to reset the Star Wars universe, and so a lot of people were hyped for it. Many people were still kind of like, after the film came out, I don't know how to feel about this movie. I sure hope the second one's able to answer a lot of the questions. And then, of course, The Last Jedi came out, and that's when anyone who had not already figured things out as far as, the direction Disney was going in, figured it out very, very quickly from that point on. But it is interesting nonetheless that you look at Force Awakens at 936, you look at Avengers Endgame at 858, you look at Spider-Man No Way Home at 800, and obviously these are the numbers not adjusted for inflation, so these numbers are actually going to be higher, and there's going to be other films domestically that will have passed this. But still, the fact that even just in the last 7 years, you only have a few films that have actually been able to reach this number just goes to show you, one, how popular this film is. I was making a video, actually, compilation for one of the categories of the Raven Awards, and it actually was featuring some of the best parts of this film. And if you've seen the film, and obviously if you haven't seen it yet, I can't really say spoilers, but when you have all 3 on screen together, let me just put it that way, they gave the fans what they wanted. It was amazing, and I was still getting emotional just seeing it and just seeing them talk to each other, still laughing at the scene because of the actors playing off of each other, and this is the reason why it did as well as it did. So maybe lost $31 million there. The Batman up to $631 million. Again, not really playing as strongly as I would have suspected it to. I did say early on I thought that this had the potential to be the next billion-dollar film. I can now say with a lot of surety that that is just not going to be the case. This film was expected to do well in China, but since they apparently had more COVID cases and had to close a large percentage of their screens, it's not doing anything there. I think also the Batman, just as a general concept, probably as far as just the way in which it's especially a much more darker portrayal of the Batman, I just don't think it would have really necessarily appealed to them, to the Chinese audiences as well. So obviously, hey, you know what? Hey, at the very least, Warner Brothers can say, hey, China, at least, you can take 75% of that $15 million and use that for your human rights violations, because we'll still release in China. We won't release in Russia because of human rights issues, but for China, hey, no problem there. Speaking of other films that have released in China, Uncharted, $357.4 million for this film. So again, $300 million was its break even. So this is now also adding on to its coffers, making $12.1 million in total in China, dealing with the same issue over there, but also giving millions of dollars to China as well, while not giving money to Russia. Jujutsu Kaisen 0, again, this was the film that did come out a while back in Japan and come out in other countries. So this is one where I'm talking about it because I know there's a lot of anime fans out there who really want to talk about it, but it's up to $159.7 million. So even though there was a pretty massive drop-off in this from week 1 to week 2 domestically, still $27.7 million, I would say, is still pretty impressive for that domestic performance there for that kind of a film. X is making a little money overseas, but at only $8.6 million and no budget to speak of. Hard to say whether or not this film is a success or not. I just, based on the description, have very little interest in the film. Dog, I still kind of want to see because I love Dog, $67 million. So even though it's not a big number, hey, didn't need to make a lot of money because of its much lower production budget, which they have not yet reported here, but I have reported, of course, in my charting. Spider-Man No Way Home, again, $800 million domestically, massive milestone there, over $1 billion overseas at 1.88 billion, very close to the 1.9, and I think it will definitely hit it in the next week. Still, I thought that there was a chance for it to reach 2 billion. The fact that it got to 1.9, I think, is pretty darn impressive. Sing 2 at $387 million is there. Death on the Nile is indeed having a death of its own. And all the way back here, again, this is all in just the order of in which how much money they made. As you can see, the outfit from 2022, $2.7 million here in its second week of release. No one's going to see it. And again, Mark Rylance looks pretty great in the film. Dylan O'Brien's in the film. You also got Zoe Dachu, I think, is a talented actress. So it's a film I want to see, but Apparently, people aren't going to see it, and part of that might also be, as I said, this little extra bonus bit before going to the charting to end things for this video. Oscars halo effect on Best Picture nominees dims, not just at box office, but on streaming, a scorecard. So it says, given how late the Oscars are this year, March 27th, and how COVID held older adults back from attending cinemas, an Oscar halo effect was never expected to take place at the domestic box office for the Best Picture nominees. All eyes were on streaming, but was anyone watching? In an exclusive set of viewership data from third-party streaming sites, Samba TV, we can actually see the impact Oscar noms made on movie watching at home. The results aren't exactly anything to jump on about, as you can see, and if you want more information, you can see this story from Deadline, but still, that Oscars so-called halo effect, pretty sure that's dead at this point since the Oscars are dead, which is the reason why I'm pushing people to my 4th annual Raven Awards, because it's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to have silly, stupid speeches, and you're going to get to see some pretty cool moments from films, at least for a couple of the categories, and I did the very best that I can. I'm sure I'll be hit with some copyright strikes too, so really, I would recommend you checking my channel out and supporting it, because somebody tells me that I might get in trouble with those videos just because I'm showing some footage in a transformative way, but as we all know, YouTube does not actually quite understand that. But if you go to my website, you can, of course, get the box office tracking in the charts. So $31 million for Lost City means that film's break-even number, actually, let's go to that first. $74 million budget means that the break-even is around $185 million that it needs to make. Right now, it's at $31 million, which means it's at $92 million in the red. So, again, we'll have to wait and see how much of a drop-off it sees next weekend with the release of Morbius. It doesn't do anything internationally. I don't know. But hey, it is the best female-driven comedy release of the pandemic era, according to Deadline. So it must be successful, right? Just like Ghostbusters 2016 was. The outfit making only $2.7 million. Again, does not look good for that outlook. $3 to $5 million is the projected there. No actual losses projected because there's no budget. Same with X as well. Right now, we can project that film to make somewhere between $12 and $17 million. And then also Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Can't make any projections on that just because the film has already been out for a while and we don't have a budget for it, but still $159.7 on a film that probably costs somewhere between, $10 and $25 million. That is a lot of profits for the film. The Batman right now sitting at $78 million in net gain and profit. Cyrano is not even being talked about or discussed at this point. Uncharted at $34.4 million in net gain profit, $17 million in net profit for Dogs. So very good job on that film. Death on the Nile still having a death at the box office. Marry Me not doing much of anything. Again, Blacklight pretty much out of the discussion. Jackass Forever hanging around, but not making all that much. And then really the only other film worth talking about, of course, would be that of not of Ghostbusters. That one's getting pretty strong. Doing pretty well, rather, on home release. But the $1.88 billion of Spider-Man No Way Home means $833.1 million in net gain, net profit. 75% of that going to Sony, 25% of that going to Disney. So kudos to their team, and I'm very excited to eventually get that on home release because my wife was not able to see it, and I am actually really excited to watch it again with her because I think that she might enjoy a lot of those aspects, especially those aspects that happen halfway through and towards the end. So if you want to maybe see some of those best parts, again, check me out. OMB Reviews tonight for the 4th annual Wednesday Raven Awards. What are y'all's thoughts about these box office numbers, though? Do you think Spider-Man No Way Home will hit that $1.9 billion, and how quickly do you think it will? I think it's an inevitability at this point since it is still out in a lot of theaters and it's still doing well enough there. The Lost City, do you think Lost City is going to do anything as being oh my goodness, the #1 female-led comedy film? And also, what are your thoughts about other film mentioned about the Batman or anything else? Let me know in the comment section down below. Sorry, this is a little bit longer than usual, but I did want to make sure to get a full video out for y'all on the Geeks and Gamers channel today. So anyway, if you like this video, smash that like button, slap that fire button on Odyssey. Y'all are all amazing and beautiful people. Again, if you want more information about the nominees for the Raven Awards this year, go to my website, hover over Raven Awards, go to Raven Awards for 2021, and as you can see, voting has ended, but it will be live on the YouTube channel, DLive Odyssey channel. I also will be on Twitter, and this is just a little bit of a precursor of the nominees that we've had this year. So best films 2021 included films like Nobody, Dune, Free Guy, Spider-Man No Way Home, Last Night in Soho, Ghostbusters Afterlife, French Dispatch, and even Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's right. Even though I hated that film, the people spoke, and that film got some recognition. And since it's technically a different film than the original, it counts as a 2021 release. So anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, a blessed Sunday, a blessed Latare Sunday, a blessed rest of your Lent. And as always, God bless.